Welcome to Practice Playbook, your go-to podcast for mastering the art of practice management as a financial advisor. I'm Brandon Chapman, an independent financial advisor based in Vancouver, BC, and the founder of AdvisorFlow. Each episode of this podcast is adapted from a live webinar, and we've distilled them into a digestible format for your convenience. Today, we're unlocking the secrets of how to build effective sales presentations, turning complex strategies into clear, compelling pitches. Learn how top advisors leverage cutting-edge tools for client data gathering and presentations to build trust and drive growth. Whether you're just starting out or looking to refine and establish practice, this podcast offers real-world advice to help you succeed. Let's dive in.
All right, welcome to another deep dive with us. You know how this works by now. We're taking the stuff that you're curious about, the stuff that you've shared, and we go deep.
That's right. We're looking for those golden nuggets, those actionable insights that you can actually use.
Exactly. And today we're diving into a webinar all about building better sales presentations, specifically for financial advisors.
Yeah, but honestly, this is useful for anyone who needs to explain complex things clearly and connect with their audience. Whether you're pitching a business idea or just trying to get your point across in a meeting, these principles apply.
So true. We all wear that presenter hat sometimes, even if it's not on a stage.
Right. So we checked out this webinar, and it's got some great voices. Tarsem Basraon, he's the co-founder of Planworth, a financial planning software company.
And we also heard from Mark McGrath. He's a seasoned advisor with Wellington Altus, so a lot of experience there.
And rounding it out was Brandon, another advisor, but he also runs AdvisorFlow.
So we've got the tech side, the practical application side. It's a great mix. And the big question is, how are financial advisors evolving? What do clients actually need these days?
Yeah, and how can advisors communicate better, build stronger relationships, all that good stuff.
Absolutely. Let's get into it. So one thing that jumped out right away was how much the role of a financial advisor is changing.
Oh, yeah. It's not just about picking stocks and bonds anymore.
Definitely not. It seems like there's a real shift happening, moving away from just focusing on investment returns.
You hit the nail on the head. It's more about becoming that trusted advisor. Tarsem actually said, and I quote, "Generally in the industry, there has been a focus or a shift from this concept of investment advisors or financial services providers focusing entirely on investment returns or product, and instead shifting to a term that we use internally at Planworth, and I think it's pretty common in the industry generally these days, which is the concept of a trusted advisor."
I love that phrase, trusted advisor. But what does that actually mean in practice? What are they offering beyond just investment advice?
It seems like it boils down to this idea of comprehensive planning. And this isn't just about retirement projections, although that's a big part of it.
Yeah, comprehensive planning, like what all does that actually include?
It's like, tax planning, estate planning, figuring out what to do with digital assets.
Oh, that's a big one these days, right? Like cryptocurrency and all that.
Exactly. And it's about having a plan that you keep updating as things change, interest rates, market fluctuations, life events.
Because let's face it, a plan you made 5 years ago probably needs a serious refresh. The webinar mentioned something really interesting about how many clients are actually getting this comprehensive advice, though.
The numbers were pretty shocking. A J.D. Power study from late 2021 to early 2022, they found that only 7% of investors were receiving all the elements of a comprehensive plan.
7%? Seriously, that's so low. But here's the even crazier part. A much bigger percentage, like around 40%, they think they're getting comprehensive advice.
Yeah, so there's clearly a disconnect happening there. Maybe advisors are using the term too loosely, or maybe clients don't fully understand what it actually entails.
Right, like what comprehensive really means. But here's the thing. That study also found that the clients who did have comprehensive plans, their satisfaction level was way higher. They had a Net Promoter Score of 77, which is a huge indicator of loyalty.
Yeah, it shows how important it is to actually provide that comprehensive service. And it's better for the advisor, too, because happy clients are more likely to stay with you and tell their friends.
Makes total sense. Tarsem also talked about this thing called the continuum of advice. What was that all about?
He explained it as like a spectrum, starting with basic advice, maybe just for a single transaction.
Okay, so like a one-off kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And then it moves up to more client-centric advice, which factors in goals and risk tolerance and all that. And then at the top of the continuum is comprehensive advice, where you're looking at the client's entire financial life.
So it's about moving towards that top level, that comprehensive approach, where you're really understanding their values and integrating all the different pieces of their financial world.
He actually said, and I quote, "The market for comprehensive planning is underserved. Demand is growing. Planning is a differentiator," which I think is really important.
I love that. It's a huge opportunity for advisors who are willing to step up and provide that level of service.
So we've talked about this shift towards becoming a trusted advisor, but the next question is, how do you actually communicate that value to potential clients? How do you make a sales presentation that really lands?
Well, Mark McGrath had some great insights about that. His first point was all about keeping it simple.
Simplicity. It's always harder than it sounds, though, right?
For sure. But his golden rule was that each slide should basically just be a headline. Don't try to cram a ton of text on there because people can't read and listen effectively at the same time. I think a lot of us are guilty of that. Oh, yeah. I've definitely sat through some presentations where the slides are just walls of text.
Yeah.
You end up tuning out the speaker completely.
He said, and I quote, "Keep it simple, right? I mean, your presentation is essentially each slide should really be a headline."
Love that. It forces you to be more concise and impactful. So keeping it simple, that's one key takeaway. What else did he recommend?
Hey, are you enjoying the episode so far? If so, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Connect with me on LinkedIn at Brandon Chapman and let me know what topics you'd like to hear next. And if you're finding this episode valuable, don't forget to leave a review or share it with a colleague who might also enjoy it. Now back to the episode.
Another important point he made was about knowing your audience. You've got to do your homework, research the prospect, understand their background, their profession, even check out their social media.
Wow, that's going the extra mile.
Yeah.
But it makes sense, right? The more you know about them, the better you can tailor your message.
And he talked about customizing the presentation, even putting the prospect's name on the title slide, just to show that you've taken the time to personalize it. It's those little touches that can make a big difference.
It's about showing that you're not just giving them a generic spiel. You've thought about their specific situation.
Exactly. He also shared this great example of using visuals to connect with your audience, specifically, in his case, when he's working with physicians. He talked about using the analogy of a doctor's diagnostic process.
Interesting. So he's using a framework that they're already familiar with.
Right. And he visually maps out those familiar steps, which helps build trust and shows that he understands their world.
It's brilliant. You're speaking their language and demonstrating that you get them.
Yeah.
And he even recommended some tools like Canva, which are pretty accessible, even if you're not a design whiz, to create those visuals.
Yeah, so you don't need a fancy degree to make your presentations look good. You can do it yourself.
That's great. I love how practical these tips are. Now, there was one suggestion that I found really surprising about how to handle fees.
Oh, yeah. Mark actually suggests talking about fees early on in the presentation.
Really? That seems counterintuitive. Wouldn't you want to save that for later?
His reasoning is that if you address the cost up front, the prospect isn't sitting there wondering about it the whole time. And then once you've gotten that out of the way, they can really focus on the value you're offering.
I see his point. It's about being transparent and building trust. You're not trying to hide anything.
He also stressed the importance of focusing on solutions, not just throwing a bunch of stats at people. As he put it, really what you're trying to do for people is solve their problems, right? Focus more on the solutions to their problems and not products and stats and market returns and that type of thing.
It's about understanding their pain points, their worries, their aspirations, and showing them how you can help them achieve their goals.
Yeah, he said that instead of overwhelming clients with lengthy reports and tons of numbers, he likes to boil things down to a couple of pages with clear visuals.
So it's about making it visual, making it digestible. You're giving them a roadmap, a clear path forward.
Another thing he recommended was talking about your process and your philosophy first before getting into the specifics of investments or performance.
Why do you think that's so important?
It goes back to building trust. He said, and I quote, "Speak about your process and your philosophy, but don't talk about returns or markets." He shared a story about a prospect who specifically mentioned that as a reason for choosing to work with him, because he focused on the how and the why before the what.
That makes a lot of sense. People are buying into your expertise, your approach, not just a list of stocks. It's about the relationship.
And finally, he emphasized how crucial social proof is. You've got to have an online presence with testimonials, reviews, all of that.
It's like your digital reputation.
He said it pretty bluntly. You've got to have either some online presence or some kind of testimonials or some kind of reviews out there so that people know that you actually know what you're talking about. He even talked about strategies for getting those testimonials, including using video, which can be really powerful.
Awesome advice. So Mark's got all these practical tips about communication and presentation. Now, Brandon brought a really important perspective to the table, too, focusing on the role of technology.
Yeah, Brandon emphasized that client expectations are changing. They're used to seamless digital experiences like what you get with companies like Wealthsimple.
That instant gratification, that ease of use.
Exactly. And he said that advisors need to figure out how to integrate technology effectively, but it's got to be strategic. First, you define your ideal client, your process, and then you see where technology can enhance things.
So it's not about just using technology for the sake of it. It's about using it to improve the client experience and make your own life easier.
He had this idea of using technology to handle those tasks that are kind of like, $25 an hour tasks, things that could be automated so that you and your staff can focus on the higher value interactions.
It frees you up to do what you do best, like building relationships and providing expert guidance.
He also talked about the importance of choosing the right tools, CRM systems, financial planning software like Planworth, design tools. It's about finding the right tech stack that fits your needs.
And he made a really good point about how technology can help you gather all the information you need from a client. He said, so the takeaway here is that it's impossible to gather all the information you need in a 2-hour meeting or discovery meeting with a client. And clients don't want to be with you for much longer than that. So you really do need to use technology in order to get all the information that you need in order to build the high-quality plan. So you're not trying to cram everything into one long meeting. You can use tech to streamline the process. All right, so we've talked about comprehensive planning, communication technology. Now let's touch on one final but crucial element, conciseness.
Oh yeah, being able to get your point across clearly and succinctly, that's a superpower.
Tarsem had a great quote about this, referencing Woodrow Wilson. He said, it actually takes more time to type less words.
So true, right? Crafting a short, impactful message takes more effort than rambling on and on.
It's about quality over quantity. Mark's point about keeping presentations to that 10 to 20-minute sweet spot really reinforces that. Respect your audience's time and attention. Absolutely. And Tarsem suggested using visuals like infographics instead of dense text, being clear about next steps, and even putting detailed information into appendices so that the main presentation is streamlined.
It's about making it easy for people to absorb the key points. So bringing it all together, it's clear that the role of a financial advisor, and really anyone communicating complex information, is evolving.
It's about becoming that trusted advisor, offering comprehensive value and communicating that value effectively.
And to do that, you need to be clear, concise, understand your audience, use visuals, and leverage technology.
It's a lot to think about, but it's all about continuous improvement.
Exactly. So here's a final thought for you. Consider your own field, your own work. How do you communicate complex ideas? Are you striving to be a trusted advisor in your own way?
Are you making your communication, whether it's presentations, emails, or even just everyday conversations, clear, concise, and focused on delivering real value?
What's one small change you could make today to move closer to that ideal of being a truly effective communicator?
We encourage you to really reflect on these ideas, explore those resources on effective communication, and see how you can apply these principles to your own work.
Great advice. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to Practice Playbook. If today's episode was helpful, be sure to subscribe so you'll never miss an update. For more tips and insights, be sure to follow AdvisorFlow on social media and stay tuned for upcoming episodes featuring expert speakers and practical advice to elevate your practice. Until next time, keep striving for excellence and building a practice that reflects your goals.